Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have got a new hill climb monster for you, and that is the LandRover Series 3. A little bit of a different sort of vehicle is going to tackle our mountain course. Now, it did do pretty damn well in the race against the hypercars when it was still in D-Class. I mean, that might potentially mean it's going to be okay. Who knows, really. There is likely to be a lot of power. That much we do know. Perhaps the closest comparison for this is the Transit, but the LandRover was built to go off-road in the first place. So, yeah, the standard engine is simply never going to cut it. Neither is the Turbo Rally. A decent enough engine, or when you're running in D-Class it proved decent enough. However, for this we are going to need more power, and that is going to come courtesy of a 6.2 litre V8. Not the Mercedes V8, this is the Chevrolet V8, but still going to be getting plenty of power out of this one, which is good. We are going to strap on a couple of turbos as well, up to 542 horsepower. Still in D-Class at this moment in time. There would be absolutely no control whatsoever, though, in the vehicle. We have got various options for bits and pieces. Unfortunately, we can't have sort of the full off-roady spec. I actually need downforce. I need any downforce I can get, any grip that we can possibly get in this car. So unfortunately, we can't have the basket on the top or the basket round the car because we need that. It's a shame that we can't have that in the many baskets, but there we go. What have we got in the way of rear bumpers? We can have a ladder just in case it is needed. I'm guessing that... Oh, it does actually add weight. Have we got any helium parts? Sometimes the helium parts are quite useful. You actually add drag nowadays with the mud flaps. I am impressed. And then we have the bonnet. We might have a lighter bonnet. Nope, we don't have a lighter bonnet because we can just stick a wheel on it. Well, it's not going to be having any of that because none of it's going to be of any help. Tyres. These are going to jump up our PI, I would expect, as we go to the snow compound tyre. It's going to put it up into A class. Now, I don't know. I'm kind of half expecting this not to get to the top of S1 class. We've only got 235s on the front. They are pretty small. As 245s on the back is still pretty small for a vehicle that is going to be potentially getting around 1,000 horsepower. That's... yeah, a lot of power going through very, very diddy wheels. Gearbox, we are going to be wanting a nice race gearbox. We're going to be wanting driveline, etc. Of course, the car starts off as all-wheel drive, so we don't have any of those sort of initial parts put in. Brakes are going to be very important. Suspension is going to be useful as well, going for the better racing suspension. Anti-roll bars are definite, as is a roll cage. Fortunately, we can't have the external roll cage. We'll have to make do with an internal one, and some weight reduction as well. The vehicle is not too heavy. I mean, 2,800 pounds. That's roughly a similar weight of the last couple of cars, in fact, that have gone up the course. I think it's about the same way as the Corsa. So, yeah, that's not bad going at all for the LandRover. Now it is on to power. As much as we can possibly cram into this engine. Yes, it's going to be perhaps one of the lowest PI vehicles we have taken up this course, but that will mean it's going to have a maxed out engine. I mean, we're past 700 horsepower now in the LandRover. It's not a sentence you say very often, but it is very much the case with this. We are going to be up to 962 horsepower in the Series 3. That's put it past 1,000. We are at over 1,000 horsepower in the LandRover. Now, admittedly, the intercooler and the oil and cooling things have upped the weight slightly. I say slightly, actually, by a fair little margin. We're at 1,016 horsepower. That is one of, if not the most... In fact, it might actually be the same power as the Transit, because the Transit I know the Transit certainly was the only other vehicle to have run over 1,000 horsepower. I can't remember quite how far over 1,000 the Transit got. So, we have tremendous amounts of power in the LandRover, relatively light as well, which makes for an impressive power. Of course, the Mercedes was another one that ran over 1,000, but that was, what was that, 600-700 pounds heavier than the LandRover. The downside is we have tiny tyres. We have tiny, tiny tyres on this vehicle to try and control all of that fury. So I'm thinking we're going to be very uncontrollable. That's my guess. Well, as our rather bonkers vehicle is here on the start line. I highly doubt the BMW at the top of the table is going to be particularly worried about this Series 3 Land Rover. Its real competition is going to be, I suspect, with the likes of the Subaru Brat, a 2-minute 0.8. The Brat was another car that couldn't get to the top of S1 class. It didn't have the crazy power of the Land Rover, but it was considerably lighter. If we are faster than that, then the Transit would be perhaps the next closest, certainly in terms of vehicle style. A 59.3 was the time set by the Ford, which is not a bad time at all up this course. But to do that, we have got to be able to keep control of our Land Rover. Good God, that is quick off the... That's 125 miles an hour into turn 1. That is an astronomical amount of speed. That is absolutely ludicrous. But how are we going to fare in terms of putting the power down through here? We've had cars go very, very quickly accelerating-wise in the past. And we have, well... Thankfully, it's just a mile of understeer. I can deal with a mile of understeer better than we can deal with a mile of oversteer. I suspect there probably would be a mile of oversteer if it's if you try to put the power down any sooner. I'm being actually quite cautious on this run so far. It's not as bad through these turns as I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be absolutely out of control. It isn't. Now, as we accelerate away, I might have actually changed up a little bit too soon. So I completely and utterly fluffed the run onto that straight. We still cracked 117 miles an hour, although understeered off towards a wall. Okay, we've got to be careful. I'm trying to short shift to avoid crazy wheel spin, but the problem is when you do that, we end up with no power. We just get a whole bunch of turbo lag, and the gear ratios are amazing in this. As we head up now towards the hairpin, it is so far not the happiest of cars with the tighter turns, as you can probably expect. And up the next hill we go, trying to get on some power, drifting around like a moron. And across the crest, we're definitely not going to be flat out there as we head on to the Icy Straight now. We've got, we shouldn't have issues with the bumps per se, but we might have issues with trying to get the car under control down there. It's not as oversteery as the Corsa, amusingly, 103 miles an hour across the jump. Yeah, no problems with the big landings, with the bumps around the place. Not exactly surprising considering what we are driving. I might have dove too far to the inside of that one. That's not a terribly awful first run. A 2-minute 1.1. It goes faster than the Honda S800 already. We're not that far off the Subaru Brat, and there were definitely plenty of places I could improve on that run. We might, just maybe, be looking at getting this vehicle into the 159s. To do that, though, is not going to be the easiest, because, well, we have severe lack of any real control in Land Rover. 128 miles an hour. Might be the fastest we've ever had down towards turn 1. I know cars have got towards 130. I think that was down the second straight. I don't know if that was towards turn 1, because I don't know if anything that got 130 was good enough under brakes to be able to brake that late. Come on, front end, please turn and accelerate. No, don't short shift. Don't short shift, because I think that cost me a fair bit of time on the previous run. We've just got to be, careful on the throttle. Not like that. That is not what you do with the throttle, because that's just how you get in trouble. We're going to sort of throw it a little bit into this double apex corner. We're struggling, still fighting. Just go for it and hope for the best. That's the ticket as we fly down towards this next braking zone. That's actually quite early on the brakes. Wasn't quite sure what I could and couldn't get away with in the Land Rover. We can actually brake a fair bit later than that, which is surprising and nice to know. 110 miles an hour. We're up there with the BMW in terms of speed in that acceleration zone, which is very, very good going. Now, we're not up in there in terms of grip through the corners with the BMW, but if we have the crazy acceleration and we're not the worst through the corners, we might be able to set a pretty decent time. Certainly looking at where we are compared to the Ghost flags is looking pretty promising, in fact, for the Defender as we head now on to the Icy Straight. To keep everything under control, it's actually very nicely done. 120 miles an hour down the Icy Straight. Carefully does it off the corner, because we're not going to make that much speed around there. 105 miles an hour again across a huge jump as we fight a little bit for control. Nice tight line through the penultimate corner. We're going to slide our way through the final turn, slithering out towards the wall. That was much better. I didn't even have time to glance at what it was. Oh, we're into the 58s with the LandRover, a 58.6. That's an identical time to the Toyota A86. Well, that's a bit quicker than I was expecting the monstrous thing to work. Well, I don't know if we can go any faster, but I'm going to give it a damn good go. Well, the LandRover is on course to create quite the surprise. Could it really make it in to the top 10? We need to find less than a tenth of a second to do that. However, that does mean trying to keep control of this utterly bonkers and stupid machine. Might be doable if everything goes smoothly. Might equally be quite easy to throw the LandRover off the side of a cliff. Because, yeah, there is not a huge amount of control. To put this kind of car's performance into perspective, this is way down on PI. I mean, we're talking 40 PI down on the cars that it's competing against and beating a lot of them. So if this can go in the top 10, that would be a hell of a feat. The way it's doing it is, you know, while the Brat and the Honda S800 had the crazy acceleration, they lacked any sort of control. There was absolutely no ability to take quarter speed with those cars. This and the Transit are both able to. This to a slightly better degree than the Ford, but these, while they are still got crazy power and they do still oversteer and understeer and they're not the quickest through the corners, they can still make the most of the power they have by being able to carry some quarter speed, certainly better than some other vehicles and most of the crazy cars. We got a little bit wide at one point there that has cost us a fraction of time, I think, but we were very, very fast through the first section. And this is where we probably will struggle. These tight corners and quick changes of direction not going to be so good for the Series 3 as we head on to the Icy Straight now. Try and get the power down across the bumps. Make sure we get on the brakes early enough to get turned in here, because this is where we are struggling a little bit more. Up towards the jump we go again, 105 miles an hour. It's a huge amount of airtime for the LandRover. Around the penultimate turn we go again, struggling to put power down, struggling to get the front end to do anything that we want it to. Here is a run towards the low. We're into the 57s. Into the 57s with a Series 3 LandRover that is at 40 PI down. That is not quite what I was expecting from that vehicle. That is stupid quick. It will go. It makes it into the top 10. It goes into 8th place. 8th place on our table. I believe, in fact I scrolled down on the finishing table that I have up on my computer because I wasn't expecting it to go to the top. I believe it is the highest placed British car. Indeed it is, beating that Jaguar F-Type by 0.2 of a second. It does lose out by 1/10 to the Commodore. It is sort of 0.4 down on the Donkavort, the Stratos and the Countach. This is a bloody LandRover though. And it is that close. That's an incredible performance. It is just got enough grip. It is only just, if that had any less grip, any smaller tyres, and I think that would be languishing down in the 2-minute area because it would just spin its power away and be kind of useless. But it is just got enough grip that you can carry enough corner speed, and then you have that ludicrous acceleration when you are out of the turns. The brakes are pretty damn good on this car as well. That is a spectacular run for this vehicle. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and until next time, goodbye.